G'day and welcome back to another Catch the Spur. This is game week 5 against Brighton at home. Let's get straight into it. Over the last couple of weeks, I have been trying to get this podcast under 10 minutes. We'll see how we go. And this is how we lined up. Martin Ho obviously managed, Kopp in goal, Neville made a return to right back for a start, Koga and Hunt in the middle, Nilden out the left, Summanen and Spence defensive midfield with England in front of them, Naz, Tandberg and Holt. And it was good to see us start on a really positive note. For the first about 90 seconds, we spent it all in our attacking half and we really put the pressure on. And at times we had 6 players up near the top of the box, really putting the pressure on the defenders and the goalkeeper. And we continued doing this all match. It was both interesting and positive to see that Hunt is now given this role where she's marking the strong centre forward. And she'll even follow them into the centre of midfield if need be, and Summanen will cover into the centre back, making that back four. I think this is really positive because Koga's really good at reading the game, same with Summanen, and Hunt is much stronger and ready to put body on body and win those tough balls. So I really like to see this under the Martin Ho system. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. 4 minutes in, Koga dives on the ball in the penalty area. Now, I personally believe that this is a pretty egregious red card for stopping an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. I thought there was a handball there, but even if it wasn't, it's a pretty obvious trip, so I think she's very lucky to stay on and have the game play out the way it did. And quickly, just speaking about the high press, I think we usually do it quite well, but this time where Neville put that ball over the top towards Naz, I did think we were a bit slow getting out, because if you pause it here, it did take Tandberg a while, England a while to get up and cover the men. I would have loved to really see that counter be stronger, and I think we would have won the ball in a dangerous area and would have been able to counter immediately. If I took anything from the second half, it was definitely our defensive structure. I think we got 3 or 4 really good offside calls, which really stopped their pressure and allowed us to slow the game down and burn the clock. We did take our foot off the accelerator a bit. It didn't look like we were going as long or trying to take on our man quite as much. It kind of seemed like we were happy with 1 and we're going to park the bus a little bit and just ride out that grindy 1-0 win, which we did do. But with that being said, let's just quickly jump through the players, see how quick we can actually make this podcast for a change. So let's start with Kopp at the back. Another start, another clean sheet, and she was really good with her hands. The thing that impressed me the most is how good she was on her toes, especially there was a corner that came in and it was really sloppy. It kind of pinballed between 3 or 4 players before they took a bit of a shot. It wasn't overly strong, but she was on her toes and she was able to get to it. The other thing that was really good, she was really aware of where her goal actually was. So there was a couple of times where the ball was going wide. She left it alone, knew where her posts were, and just let it go out for a goal kick instead of trying to force a hand to it and forcing a corner, which would have been a lot more detrimental. Then we'll jump to Koga. As I said earlier, very, very lucky to stay on the field. Should have given up a penalty, should have been sent off, and would have changed the game completely. So probably not her best performance, but after that, looked pretty strong. But I do think that we were quite lucky with that decision. Let's go over to Nilden at left back. Really strong. There was some good runs, some good through balls. There was a good one in the second half where she was kind of a little bit wide of that left back spot, and she just cut this diagonal ball straight through the guts to Tandberg. Those sort of balls is what she's really good at. If there's anything for her to improve on, I'd say it'd be the corners. 2 or 3 really landed short, and they're very easy to clear. We really need to get it more towards the centre of the box or towards the back and really put pressure on their keeper. We saw Ash Neville return for a start, which was fantastic. As I've said for weeks, we are a bit lacking in that right back position, but she was really strong today. Some good balls over the top, especially that one to Naz, and that really opens up the play not just on those long balls, but in future plays where they think we could go long, so they're sitting a bit deeper, and then she can cut that short ball and play those 1-2s through the midfield and really work up. So that's really good to see. She also covered her man incredibly well. I don't think any of their strong attacks really came from that left-hand side, so excellent performance. Summanen was really good again today as well. So her 2 best attributes were definitely her free kicks. She looked incredibly dangerous, whether she was lobbing a ball in for someone to get on to the end of, or late in the second half where I thought the ball was a bit too far out and she just drilled it. It was close to the keeper, but when you put that much juice on the ball, it is incredibly hard to stop. So that was awesome. The second big thing was her defensive structure. Dropping in for Hunt while she was man marking through the middle was awesome, and she read the ball really well. Never really looked in doubt. Spence, on the other hand, at defensive midfield, I thought had probably her worst game of the year so far. I thought that she gave up a yellow card earlier than the one she actually did give, and the one that she gave a yellow card away for, it was a third consecutive foul that she'd committed in a small period of time. So I thought she was off, but luckily that was her first yellow. But she seemed a little bit off pace today, and I think Martin Ho could have made this substitution earlier than the 71st minute mark. I'd have loved to see Odos to give us a little bit more creativity through the guts, or bring on Arteden just earlier. Now across to the skipper. Beth was excellent in three ways today. I really loved her starting positions on free kicks that were wide. She dropped really far behind the back post, because if that ball came out there, she could whip it right in front of the goalkeeper across the front, which is an incredibly dangerous ball. So I really enjoyed that. Secondly, she was incredibly composed when she got forward into the corners with the ball. She didn't just whip the ball in because she had it there and she was upfield and it was a counter-attack. She'd look, see that there were no players there, and then she'd return that ball to a midfielder or a wing-back to keep possession of the ball and not just send it in for no reason. As well as this, times where Jess Naz or Holt got forward, or even Tamberg, were wide and sending a ball into the middle, her positioning was really good. She made these runs from the sort of middle of the goals to the front post, and that's incredibly dangerous for defenders and goalkeepers, and has the added benefit of not making a diagonal, like a flat run this way. You're actually running to the ball and you're facing both the goal and the ball, so it's easier to get onto instead of trying to whip a leg across your body. Once again, Tinker was really strong and had a high intensity press, and it was really good at making opportunities for her teammates, putting the defence under pressure, winning throw-ins and all those kind of things like she's been doing every week. The one thing I was a little bit disappointed with was her creativity. She was trying to be too creative at times, especially when she was standing in the box. She could have won this easy ball to her chest and brought it down, really putting the defenders under pressure, because being in the box, any touch on her goes down, wins a penalty. But instead of this easy ball that she could have won at her chest, brought down and used her strength to beat the defender or open up some space, she tried this leg flick, I think it was a bicycle, and it was just ineffective. Didn't get anywhere near it. Instead, she could have just brought that down, really put the pressure on the defenders, because her strength, she absolutely would have kept the ball and would have forced them into making a challenge. And now to jump into my top three. At third, I think Claire Hunt. I really love her new role under Martin Ho, where she's pressuring the target player and following them into the midfield if that's what it requires, because she's really strong and she's not afraid to put her body on the line. And she'll definitely give up a foul if it's beneficial. She can see a break happening, she'll just bring them down and be incredibly professional about it. If there is one area of improvement, she did almost give the ball away in a very dangerous area of the field, but with how much we want to play the ball out of the back, it's going to happen. I'm just glad it was against Brighton, who didn't punish us. Now to my number two, Holt. Seems like it's a regular occurrence this year that she's going to be up in that top three, but she is definitely a creative force and she is looking incredibly dangerous. Something as well as this that I really enjoyed is late in the first half, where we were under a lot of defensive pressure and Neville cleared the ball out. And as you'll see here, Holt wins this ball, takes on 3 or 4 defenders. A couple of them don't want to engage, but she was incredibly smart of just staying on her feet, playing that ball out and winning us back possession, taking the defensive pressure off us. And that's why Holt takes my number 2 spot. And that brings me to my man of the match, Jessica Naz. It was great to see her with her confidence back and really taking on defenders and running with the ball. She was also whipping in really good balls, not every time, but most of the time, to good areas and really putting the pressure on their goalkeeper and defenders, making goals for Tarnberg. Now, as I always say, this is just analysis, so please go back and watch the game, watch the replays, and let me know what you think on Reddit. And lastly, let's take a very quick look at fantasy. So this was my team this week, and it was great to get Cop a clean sheet, as well as Hunt, as well as the 3 bonus points, and Tarnberg for a goal. I do think it's time I probably change from Clinton to Shaw for captaincy, especially with their upcoming run of Liverpool, West Ham, and Everton. That's an incredibly great run, and I'm going to need to triple up. It's also a good time to analyse the London City Lionesses. I thought they were going to be a little bit stronger, and only a 1-0 win over Liverpool was not a positive sign. They do also have some tough fixtures coming up. So after West Ham, they've got Chelsea and then us and Aston Villa. So they might get 2 wins out of the 4 there, but I'm not overly confident. I'm also thinking about moving Van Egmond on. I know that she's playing a higher role than she does for Australia, and I was really hoping this was going to lead to more goals and more assists, but it doesn't seem to be happening, so it's probably time that I use clean slate and completely overhaul the team. Don't forget to jump on Aerial Fantasy. They're not a sponsor by any means, but they are just a wonderful game and a great place for WSL news, and don't forget to jump on Reddit. And last of all, let me know what you thought of my man of the match and my top 3. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Comment below. Jump on the subreddit. Spurs Women, great place to be. Jump in my fantasy league on Aerial. I'll put the code underneath. And have a great day, a great week, and I'll see you next week.